everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been a very long time since I have last uploaded. So for today's video, as you guys can tell by the title, I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys my labor and delivery story. For those of you that don't know, I was pregnant last year. I did like little videos here and there when I told my family and all of that. So yeah, for those of you that didn't know, I did have a baby. So this is gonna be a story time of my labor and delivery, my experience, and all of that good stuff. So if you guys want to keep watching, then you know what to do. And I know I haven't been on here for a long time, but I'm hoping I kind of get back into the routine. So if you are interested, then go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, so to start off, I don't know where to start off. It's kind of weird starting off, but okay, so I found out I was pregnant in April 7th. I found out I was pregnant, and my due date was December 16th. I didn't really do like a backstory, like from finding out till like my birth, just again because I haven't posted in a really long time. But I did want to go on here and just tell you guys my experience and everything that happened. So I like I said, I don't know really where to start, but I guess I'll start around when I was 32 weeks. Again, this was my first baby, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, certain things here and there. So any little thing that I felt closer to the end of my pregnancy, I was kind of not scared, but I'm like, okay, is it time? Okay, what does this mean? Or what does this mean? And thank God, I have cousins and my aunts and my mom and friends that have had babies before. So any little thing that I was concerned about, I was able to talk to them about, and they did help me out a lot. So starting at 32 weeks, I'm just going to start at 32 weeks is because when it kind of started happening. So at 32 weeks, I was considered preterm labor. So for those of you that don't know, it's kind of like when your body starts getting into labor real soon before it's you're considered full term. So full term, I want to say, is considered 36 weeks and up, but since I was 32 weeks, it was considered preterm labor. And the reason for that was because I was having contractions. Although I didn't feel them not whatsoever. The reason why I had went into labor and delivery was because for a couple of reasons. I know one of them, I thought I was leaking fluid. I had not felt her move for a long period of time, more than usual, I should say. Another reason, I know there was another thing that I was going in for. If I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I was in and out of labor and delivery so many times. They probably knew me already, but I was considered preterm labor at 32 weeks. So they did admit me when I was 32 weeks, but before they admitted me, they wanted to monitor the baby. They wanted to monitor me to see if I was really having contractions. I was. However, like I said, since they weren't painful, I want to say they were like the Braxton Hicks. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's kind of your body getting ready to have contractions. If I keep looking down this way, it's because I have my baby monitor on, so I'm looking at her. So what Braxton Hicks are, it's kind of like fake contractions, I guess you can say. So your stomach still goes through the motion of getting really hard and intense, and then it releases. However, they don't hurt. I've heard some stories where they do hurt just a little bit, but for me, I did not feel nothing, not whatsoever. So that's why when I went into labor and delivery, they told me that I was having contractions. I was so surprised because I had always heard, oh my god, contractions hurt, contractions this, contractions that. So I was like, okay, so why don't I feel anything? She did mention that they could be Braxton Hicks, but I was having them very frequently. So when you're pregnant, when you contract and all this stuff, that's your body telling you that you're getting ready, it's coming soon, and that's what helps you dilate as well. So obviously, because I was 32 weeks, they wanted me to completely stop having my contractions because it would be considered like a preterm baby, and they did not want that. So to prevent that, they did give me, I want to say they gave me morphine to try and stop the contractions. However, that did not help. They also gave me steroid, I think they gave me 2 steroid shots just in case I did have her. Her lungs were going to be, good. Nothing was going to be wrong with her. And then they gave me something else. I just know that they were giving me so much stuff to try and stop it. However, nothing worked. I was still having the contractions, and then they finally admitted me because I was contracting. So at that point, I want to say before then, I was 3 centimeters dilated for about 2 months. So when I had went to my regular OB appointment, they had told me that I was 3 centimeters, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my god, it's coming. I'm already 3 centimeters. I need to get to 10. I don't have that much more. But little did I know it was going to take a very long time. And I have heard and people have told me you can be 3 centimeters, you can be 4 centimeters dilated for so long. But I didn't think, honestly, that would happen to me. I thought, oh, I'm 3 centimeters. Okay, I'm going to get admitted. But that wasn't the case, which thank God, I didn't have my baby girl early. And even if I did, it's in God's hands. He was going to, watch over her and keep her safe and keep her healthy. But so when I was 3 centimeters, I want to say I think I was 32 weeks or 33 weeks. I'm not really too sure. I forgot, honestly. I had asked her if I can get my membranes swept, but I want to say maybe I was past that. Because when you get your membranes stripped, they want you to be more far along so you don't go into labor, because that can trigger labor. So at 32 weeks, I got admitted. And they told me, okay, go ahead and call your fiance, like, it's time. And I was like, oh my God, like, is it really time? She's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I went ahead and I called him. He came. I got all of my stuff ready. And we were there. We were waiting, and they stopped. So I don't know what, I don't really remember what they had gave me, but the contractions had pretty much stopped. So they let me go. They told me that I wasn't going to have her. So again, I was happy, because I didn't want to have her too early. And at some point I did, just because I was like, oh my God, this feels so real. And I was like, in the room, if you guys have given birth before, you guys know, you're in the labor and delivery room. You see like the little bed that they put the baby on and all of that. So it was like, oh my God, is this really happening? So that's why I was kind of like, oh my God, yes, finally. But at the same time, I didn't want her to be preterm, just because I wanted her to stay in a little bit longer to go ahead and, develop more as she should. So I went home, and then time passed. Again, I was in and out of labor and delivery at around 33, 34 weeks, I want to say, maybe, or even like after that. I'm not too sure. Like, I really don't remember, but I started to lose my mucus plug. So what that is, it's like I didn't lose it all at once. I was losing it in pieces, just because at the end, because I was like excited and I had already, got admitted. When I got closer to my due date, I was doing things to kind of try and like activate and to trigger my body to go into labor. I was doing the yoga, I was going up and down the stairs. They say to have sex because the sperm helps to, soften your cervix. So I was doing a lot of things to try and, naturally induce myself, I guess you could say, because the one thing that I did not want was for them to induce me, just because I've heard many stories of, when they induce you, it hurts a lot more and all of that. So I just wanted to try and do it myself to see if, doing it natural ways was going to happen. If not, then I was going to stop, which that ended up happening. So moving on, again, like 33 weeks, 34 weeks passed. I was good. I wasn't really getting too like uncomfortable towards like the end of my pregnancy. Again, my due date was December 16th, so I was expecting to go to December 16th. And every time I would go into my appointments, because I was 3 centimeters dilated, they would tell me, I don't think you're gonna make it, I don't think you're gonna make it. So I was in my head, I had that like instilled in my head, like, okay, I'm not gonna make it to my due date. When was it gonna come? I don't know, but they kept saying, they're nurses, they're OBs, whatever, so they know. So I was expecting, to go into labor sooner than what I actually did. So at around, again, like throughout the whole time, like the weeks that passed, I was losing my mucus plug. There was like here and there, again, in and out of labor and delivery. Yeah, I was 39 weeks and 3 days. So that's when I had one of my very last OB appointments. So when I had went in, they check your blood pressure, they check your weight, whatever the case is. So when she had checked my blood pressure, I did notice that she had to retake it, and she told me to kind of relax. It could be because she said the first time she had took it, it was kind of high. So she took it the second time, it was fine. So when I went in to go see my actual OB, again, so, sorry, rewind. So before my 39 weeks, I did get my membranes stripped. Is it stripped, I think. I did do that, thinking it would help me like kind of go into labor. However, it didn't. But after I did that, I did notice that that's when my mucus plug started coming out a little bit more. So again, fast forward back to 39 weeks. So she had mentioned to me, she was asking me, same routine as we always do. But towards the end, she did mention, she's like, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and send you over to labor and delivery, just because your blood pressure came out high the first time that we took it, and it wasn't the first time. So right away, my grandma, she has high blood pressure, so I've always heard it's like not a good thing. So when she told me that, I just obviously wanted to make sure that my baby was safe. So she had told me that she was going to send me to labor and delivery just so they can monitor me. She told me if they want to send you home, they're going to send you home. If they want to keep you, they're going to keep you, but they want to keep you to go ahead and monitor her just to make sure that she's okay. So I'm like, okay. Again, not thinking anything of it. And it's funny because when I got pregnant towards the end, because I felt like, okay, it's almost time. It's almost time. Not that I wouldn't shower every day, but sometimes, I would obviously shower like once every other day. I would never go more than 2 days, obviously without showering. So, but when it was towards the end of my pregnancy, I felt because I knew it was coming, or just in case it would have happened out of nowhere, I wanted to make sure it was clean and everything. Even though I know that they say that they don't care, but it was just my personal thing that I wanted to kind of feel clean. So every single day I was taking a shower in the morning just in case it happened. I was taking a shower at night just in case it happened. So that day I ended up taking a shower in the morning before my appointment. So I went ahead and I went over to labor and delivery. They asked me why I was there. I went ahead and I told them that they had sent me over. My OB sent me over because she wanted you guys to like monitor my blood pressure because it had came out high. So she was like, okay. So they had put me into like triage, and then I want to say they had checked me. Yeah, they had checked me, and it was always going from 3 to 3.5 centimeters. So it was kind of always like going back and forth. But I want to say when they had checked me, I think I was 3.5. So I guess because they were monitoring me, I guess because I guess because my blood pressure kept going up and down, they ended up admitting me. So when I had asked them, like, okay, is this for reals now? Just because when I was, the 32 weeks, they said that it was time and it wasn't time. So I wanted to like make sure that way I wouldn't have to have my fiance go for no reason. So she's like, no, it's time. Like, tell him it's like she's gonna come. You're gonna stay until she comes. So I'm like, oh my god, like now it's happening. So he was at work actually. I had my appointment, I want to say at 9:30, 10. I ended up checking in to labor and delivery at, I want to say 11. And then I'm not really too sure how long it was until I was in triage, and then I don't know how long it was after till I went into actual like the labor and delivery like department room. I know it wasn't that long because they admitted me so fast, I knew that okay, it's time. So I called my fiance actually, and that day he was working with my dad. So I had told him like, it's time, babe, like, you gotta get the stuff, you gotta go home, get the stuff, and then you have to come. So he didn't believe me again because of the first time that we had went through that. He was like, is it like for real? And I'm like, yeah, it's for real. So he's like, okay. So thank God he wasn't working anywhere too far. I want to say he was in San Bernardino. So he goes home, he comes back. I want to say he got there like around 1:32. So he was there with me, whatever, time goes by, they checked me. I want to say I was at 4 centimeters. And then, I didn't like record anything. I wasn't really too focused on that. But I think after I was like 4.5 maybe. And I was like, okay, whatever. So, hours go by, whatever. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I'm lying. Maybe I was 3.5 to 4. So I was, just going about, like, I wasn't really in pain. I wasn't having anything. They told me I was having contractions again. Didn't feel them. So because I had my high blood pressure, they didn't want to start me on Pitocin to get my body to labor and to contract and to dilate. So that way I was able to have her again because they didn't want to put her at risk. But they said that what they were going to do was they were going to let my body, since my body was already contracting, they were going to see how far I would get on my own before they gave me the Pitocin. Again, I have heard bad stories about when they give you Pitocin, like about your contractions hurting 10 times more, so I really did not want to do that. So, because my body was contracting and it was dilating on its own, they kind of held off on giving me the Pitocin. However, they did end up giving it to me towards the end. So, I want to say it was around 11 o'clock at night. Obviously they were coming in, they were checking me, I was still the same. I think I want to say I was at 4 for a little bit. And then I remember she had came in around 11 o'clock, 11:20, I'm really not too sure. She had came in, she had asked me if my fiance had wanted a blanket, because he didn't have a blanket, they didn't give him one. So I'm like, yeah, sure, because he was on the couch. So as she walked out, literally the second she walked out, if you guys have been pregnant, you guys know the feeling. I just felt like I heard a pop, and then a whole bunch of water starts coming out. So my water had broke. So it broke. I was at 4.5 centimeters when it had broke, and I remember as soon as she walked out, I just felt, I heard the pop because I was on the monitor. So I heard the pop, and then water just started like gushing out of me. I was like, oh my gosh. And my mother-in-law had told me, hopefully, you get to experience your water breaking. It's like a really cool feeling. I experienced, and it was such a crazy feeling, and I still remember like it was yesterday, that whole, like, that feeling of my water breaking. So as soon as that had happened, I was like, babe, William, and he was tired because he had just went to, or he had just got back from work. So I was like, babe, and then he got up and like all fast, and I was like, my water broke, and he like freaked out, and he like got up as he was going to turn on the light. The nurse was coming in, and I told her, I think my water broke. So she lifted up like the sheet, and she's like, oh yeah, it broke. So she had told me. She had told me from the beginning if I wanted to get the epidural to go ahead and let her know, because it takes time for them to come to set everything up, and by the time they actually come up, and by the time you actually get it, she's like, it can take up to an hour. So my plan was always, I always said when they had asked me what my birth plan was, even though I didn't necessarily have a birth plan, they had told me if I planned on getting the epidural, and I told them yes, I was going to try and go as long as I could without it. But if I had to, in the end, I was going to do it. I don't care. So she had told me, what are your plans? And I told her the same thing. I said, I'm going to try and go as long as I can without it, but if I can't, then I'm going to get it. So when my water had broke, she had told me, okay, so now your contractions are going to intensify, and you are going to feel them a lot more. She's like, so if you want to get it, I would suggest telling me now. That way I can put it in, and then they come up, and you're good. So at first I was like, no, I think I'll wait a little bit. And it is so true, because my cousin and my friend, which is her friend as well, they both told me as soon as your water breaks, you feel every contraction. And not that I didn't believe them, but I felt every contraction. And they say it's true, like when it's like period cramps times like 20. It was such a weird feeling, because you feel like intense, and then it releases. And then it's intense, like a really strong tightening feeling, but for a good while, and then it releases. So I was 4.5, and my fiance was sitting on the bed with me, and he told me, are you sure you don't want to get it? Or like, do you want to, he wasn't pressuring me, he wasn't forcing me to get it, he just kept asking me, are you sure you don't want to get it yet? Like, she's telling you from experience. So I'm like, no, like, I don't want to get it yet. So I had told her I was going to hold off. But once I started feeling them, like they were literally coming back to back to back, I'm like, okay, no, I'm gonna get it. So I ended up getting it at 4.5 centimeters. She actually had to do it twice, just because the first time I wasn't like relaxed enough. So she did have to do it 2 times. So the second time, obviously, everything was good. So that again, it was maybe like, I want to say at that time it was maybe 12 o'clock. I think it was around 4. So as you guys heard from the last, and as I put in the text there, it was 11:25 when my water had broke, so I was 4.5. And then when they had checked me again at 1, I was still 4.5 centimeters. So from 1 till 4 o'clock in the morning, I had gone from 4.5 to 8.5 centimeters. So everything that I'm saying in the next slide, just disregard that. I got the times wrong. So the correct time is from when they last checked my cervix at 1 a.m. I was 4.5, till 4 in the morning I had went to 8.5 centimeters. I know it was towards the end, as I was getting closer to 10. They ended up starting me on pitocin, just because my water had broke. I guess like I stopped dilating, not stopped, but it was taking longer than they wanted it to. So they did end up starting me on pitocin. They were kicking it up. Obviously, because I had the epidural, I didn't feel any of the contractions. I was able to sleep. I took a nap and all of that. So I ended up getting to 10 centimeters. I want to say at 4 o'clock or around 5 o'clock. I want to say maybe like 4:30, almost 5. So, no, I'm lying. Maybe it was 4 o'clock because of the time that she was born. So at 4 o'clock, she came in and she's like, okay, like we're gonna start pushing and whatever. So I'm like, okay. So here's where the story begins. So again, she's like, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do practice pushing, and then, obviously once we see progress, then I'll go ahead and call everybody in or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so I start pushing. She's like, okay, they tell you how to push, they tell you to hold your breath for the 10 seconds, whatever. So I was doing that, and then I started to notice that she was like, okay, like a little bit more, or okay, now we're going to try it on this side. Okay, now we're going to have you turn on this side. So I was like, like that's kind of weird. So she did have me like regular birthing position, and then she had me turn on my side, and then she had me turn on my other side, and she even had me go like on all fours. So at that point I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then she did mention, that's when she ended up telling me that my baby was sunny side up. So every time I was explaining it to people, they thought that she was breached, which that was not the case. She was head down, however, she was facing up, like towards my stomach, instead of facing down to my back. Um, so she was sunny side up, and so she did mention that it's a little bit harder when the baby is sunny side up, because the baby has to kind of turn to get into the position to be able to come out. So she told me it was going to take a little bit longer, and I remember it was only 30 minutes of me pushing. And again, for those of you that have given birth, you feel like a lot of soreness down there from pushing. Obviously, because it's your pelvic bone, like you're like, you're pushing, you're going to push a whole human out of you. So I remember I was in so much, not pain as in far as contractions, but down there it hurt so much. And even though it was only 30 minutes, like I was so tired. So I remember maybe in 30 minutes, yeah, I want to say it was 30 minutes to an hour of me pushing. So then my fiance calls I told my fiance to call my mom, and I'm telling her like, I can't do it, mom. And I honestly was being mean. Sorry, mom. I was being really mean just because I was like so irritated, because every time I would push, like the nurse was like, yeah, I can see her, she's almost here. I'm like, she's not almost here, like don't tell me she's almost here. And I'm like, no, like she's not almost here, like obviously I wasn't telling her that, but in my head I'm like, stop telling me that, like she's not almost here. So I ended up calling my mom, and I'm like, I can't do it, like it hurts, like I can't. And then mom is being positive. She's like, yes you can, Karina, yes you can. She kept telling me, yes you can, like God's on your side, like it's gonna be a little bit of pain, and once you see her it's gonna be worth it, and this and that, like you can do it. And I was like, I cannot. Again, not that I was being a wimp, but obviously it's my first pregnancy, my first labor, my first birth, whatever. Everybody reacts differently, so I really don't need anybody telling me that, oh my god, you couldn't do it, oh my god, this and that. This is my personal experience. So again, I want to say it was closer to an hour, and I was like, I'm tired, like of pushing, I can't, like there's nothing's happening. Like as much as she's telling me, oh she's right there, I can see her, yeah, you might be able to see her, but I know I still I still know I have a ways to go. So in my head I'm like, oh no, like I can't do this, like what are my other options? Your only other option is C-section. So when I had told my mom, I'm like, I can't do it, like I just want a C-section, like I can't do it. She's like, no, you can do it, like just try, so on and so forth. Still pushing, and nothing is happening. So I want to say at this time it was maybe like 2 hours had passed, and she had told me when I had told her that I didn't want to push anymore, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go on my lunch, and when I come back we have to push. So I'm like, okay. So as she was leaving, I've heard that when you feel like you need to poop is when you need to push, because that's like your body like contraction, that's when you need to push, because it's like going to be a good push or whatever, something like that. So when she left, I was feeling that feeling. So when I was laying there, I kind of was doing it on my own. However, nothing was happening, obviously, because I wasn't doing it to my full potential, just because I was a little bit scared, because oh my god, like what if I did push and she was like coming out and there was nobody here. So I wasn't doing it like too much, but I was doing like just little pushes here and there. And then she gets back from her lunch, and then she's like, okay, we're gonna get ready. And that's when maybe another hour had passed. Again, mind you, we're already at 2 hours pushing. So and then I want to say another doctor came in, same thing, like they help you, whatever. So she's doing it, and she's like, okay, go ahead and do it. So I'm pushing again. She had me on my sides, on all fours, and nothing was happening. So she's like, oh, and then so the other doctor that had came in, she had to leave because another girl was, like right there about to have her baby. So she leaves, and then when she left, I want to say another doctor had came in, and the nurse that was taking care of me at the time, she mentioned to her, what was going on. Baby was inside up, and there was no progress, like the baby was not turning. So I don't even remember if she asked me if she can do this, which I'm pretty sure she did, because I'm pretty sure she wouldn't do it without asking me or getting my consent. So I think she did, I just don't remember. But when I guess the baby is sunny side up, I think there's a word for it. They pretty much stick their hand in there and try and turn the baby themselves. And when I tell you that that hurt so much more than the pain that I was having down there when I didn't want to push anymore, it hurt so bad. And I want to say at that time, when she had done that, she stopped, and because I told her, no, like, get your hand out, like, it hurt so bad. So after that had happened, she kind of was just standing there. And mind you, I think at that time, you know, a whole bunch of time, like, you know, time was just passing. I was still pushing. I was still pushing. I was still pushing. So, and I want to say now with the epidural, I want to say it's the one that, like, that you click the button and it kind of goes into your IV. I maybe clicked that button maybe 4 times. So I remember when she took her hand out, she explained to me, she's like, okay, I can try and do it one more time. When I had told her that I didn't want to push anymore, that was about an hour, and she had told me that I wasn't able to have the C-section. From what I remember, it was something about that they didn't have the proper, I don't remember honestly what it was that she had told me, but she pretty much told me that I wasn't able to. So I'm like, okay. So I felt like at that point my only option was to keep pushing. So when that doctor came in, she took her hand out and she had told me, you have 2 options, to be honest. Either I can go in one more time to try and turn her. However, it's not a full guarantee that she's gonna turn. But it's me helping her a little bit. Or you can do the C-section. So when she had came in, she had asked the nurse what was going on. The nurse had told her, and she had said, how long has she been pushing? And when I heard the doctor tell her how long I had been pushing, I didn't feel like it was that long, to be quite honest with you. It felt like it felt so much shorter. But when she said 3 hours and 50 minutes, I was like, holy cow, I've been pushing for technically 4 hours and nothing is happening. And I was like so in shock. I look at my fiance and then he looked at me like so surprised too, like 3 hours and 50 minutes. So us having that in the back of our head now, when she had said, okay, the 2 options, either I can go in, try and turn her, not guarantee that she's gonna turn, or, and then I don't even think she said the other option. And when she just said that first, oh, I can try and turn, I looked at him and he automatically said, no, just do the C-section. And then like he looked at me, they looked at me, you know, for me to give the okay. I said, yeah, just do it. Like, I'm not gonna sit here trying to push I don't know how much longer to try and get her to turn, which she's clearly not turning, you know, like on her own, and I'm not gonna put her at risk, you know, just because you guys want me to keep pushing, or just because you guys don't want me to get a C-section. So I told them no, like I want the C-section. So they're like, okay, well, you know, we have to get you ready, we have to get you prepared, we have to get the room ready, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, you know, they put the cap on me, they explained to me the risks, they pretty much went over everything that they need to. And even though I know that it was what I chose to do, I couldn't help but like cry, not because I failed, but just because I wanted to truly experience giving birth, like not natural, like a vaginal delivery. I wanted to experience that. That's like the whole, not the whole point, but that's what I was looking forward to, like my whole pregnancy up until, you know, I had her. When I called my mom and I told her, she obviously, you know, she started crying because it's a major surgery that you get. It truly is. So she ended up, you know, I was telling her, you know, I can't do it. Like, you know, it hurt really bad, like them trying to get her to turn. So I just chose the C-section. You know, and I went ahead and I let all of my family know, just because obviously, you know, they were asking, and due to COVID, I can only have one person in the room with me. So I called them. I couldn't help but cry. I cried every single time I had called my aunt, my cousin, my sister, you know, my grandma. I was crying because I'm like, not that I failed, that felt like I failed, but it's not truly what I wanted. But at that moment, it's obviously I chose it, but it was just like, oh, like I don't know how to explain it, but I'm like, I'm gonna do what's best for my daughter to keep her set, like, you know, to keep her health, you know, good, and to keep her safe. And I'm not gonna put her at risk just so I can keep pushing, you know. So if the best and easiest and quickest way is to do a C-section to get her out, I'm gonna do it by all means. So they get me ready. They explained to my fiance that he had to go to the waiting room as they transferred me over to the room, and all of that good stuff, and they were going to call him once it was time. So again, since 4 hours had passed, I ended up, they go to the room, they put me on the bed, and I remember, obviously, you know, they have like that curtain up kind of so you don't see past down there. And they give me an IV, and they get like a little safety pin, like a needle, and she kind of starts poking it on my body, and she's like, can you feel that? And I was feeling it, and then she's like, okay, tell me when you can stop feeling it. And I want to say she kept going lower, obviously because they're cutting into your stomach. They want that part to be completely numb, and I was feeling it a little bit more. So I told her I can still feel it a little bit. So she gave me more of the IV. I'm not really too sure what it was, but it was obviously something to numb. So she gave me more of that. Then I was feeling nauseous again because I hadn't ate since the day before, and in that morning for my doctor's appointment I had only ate a yogurt. So I was really really hungry, and I was starting to feel nauseous. So she had asked me how I was feeling. I told her that I was okay, just besides the fact that I was feeling nauseous. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give you something so you don't, again, another IV, so you don't feel nauseous. So I'm like, okay. So at this point they're giving me, like, they're telling me what they're putting in and whatever. And I want to say they had got started, and I kind of start to feel like a little tired. I know, like, I kind of turn to the side, and I kind of just start dozing off. And then I remember, like, my fiance ended up coming in, because I remember I looked to the side and I seen him. And then I want to say they're like, okay, you know, like, we're gonna start. And they start talking, you know, among themselves. They have to, like, confirm everything or whatever the case is. So they start doing that. And then towards the end, when they were almost done, I feel, if you guys have ever got a C-section, you kind of feel not even pain, but it's tugging. Like, I don't know if it's they push the baby, I don't know if they're opening, I don't know what they're doing, but you feel a lot of tugging. And that's what I was feeling. So I kind of like squinted my eyes, and there's a nurse on, like, above me, and she had told me, are you okay? Does it hurt? And I said, yes. And she's like, it hurts? And that was my mistake. And I was like, well, it doesn't hurt, like, I can just feel pressure. Or she said tugging or pressure, something like that. And I said yes. And she's like, okay, you know, that's normal, they're almost done. So a little bit of more time had passed, and she was finally out. And when I heard her cry, I could not help but just cry, like, oh my god, she is finally here. After this long awaited, like, 9 months, my baby girl is finally here. And again, for those of you that have gave birth, whether it's vaginal or C-section or whatever, hearing that first cry, like, it's amazing, and it's such a crazy feeling that I want to experience again. I truly do. And oh my gosh, when I heard her cry, I could not help but, like, start crying. I remember I started crying. I looked at my fiance. I think at that time he was already kind of by the little bed getting ready to cut the umbilical cord, which I do have pictures of that. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna insert pictures here, but I probably won't. But so yeah, he ends up cutting the umbilical cord. She was born at 8:51 p.m. on December 12th, 2020. So for those of you out there that know that day, that's the La Virgen de Guadalupe. That's her birthday. So my mom said that she was born on a amazing day, so which I'm really really happy about. And if you guys have seen my necklace, and if you guys can read it, I did name my baby girl Olivia Leia. And it was so crazy. And I remember, you know, they had her, he cut the umbilical cord, and I kept hearing him and the nurses say, look babe, take a picture. And I remember I just turned my head, and I couldn't really, like, focus. I think because of everything that they were giving me in the IV, I couldn't really focus onto, like, her, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I was, you know, I just had a major surgery. With everything they were giving me, it was normal. So I remember, like, I turned to the side, and, like, I still felt, like, a little woozy. And I remember, like, I kept trying my hardest to try and open my eyes to try and see her. And I did see her. I did take pictures. You know, my fiance put her next to me and all this stuff. And then they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and, you know, do whatever we have to do. And then we're going to, you know, transfer you to the postpartum room. So he ended up leaving. And then after that, they transferred me to another room. I don't even know, to be honest, how much time had passed after that. And I remember I, like, woke up, and I was, like, in another room, and I had the chills. Oh yeah, that's what I forgot to mention too. Before they were gonna start, I started to get the chills really bad, and I was scared. Like, I was honestly really scared, because I would not stop, like, shivering. And I don't know why they told me it was normal. So after that, when I was in that room, I'm guessing it's like a room that you go to after surgery. So I remember I was still shivering. I ended up having a fever. They told me I ended up getting an infection. So I couldn't go into the other room yet until, like, the postpartum room, until my fever had gone down. So I was still in that room. Like, when I had woke up, I'm like, oh wow, like, she's really here, you know, like, where is she? Because I didn't know where I was at or where she was. I didn't have my phone on me. So I remember that I kept, shivering, and then she had told me how I felt. I told her I felt a little bit better. She had explained to me, that I had the fever, the infection, whatever, whatever. And then I hear, like sucking, like when they're sucking on something, and I turned, and she was like on a little bed next to me. I didn't fully see her, and I remember, like, kind of like when I got up again, I was still a little, like, not all there, and they had asked me, do you want to carry her yet? And because I still felt like that, I didn't feel comfortable carrying her, just because I didn't want to fall asleep with her in my arms, or whatever. But I just didn't feel comfortable. So I told them, I don't feel comfortable yet. Can I wait a little bit longer? They're like, yeah. But I had wanted to breastfeed her, obviously. So I had told her, like, is it okay if, when I do hold her, I can breastfeed her? They're like, yeah, it's up to you. That's your baby. Whenever you want to start, that's totally up to you. So I'm like, okay. So I remember I fell back to sleep. And then I woke up and my chills were a lot less. So then they asked me again, do you want to go ahead and hold her? So at that time I said yes. So I finally held my baby girl. The only thing that sucks is I didn't get a picture of my first time holding her, which sucks. But obviously I'm still going to remember. And so I remember I held her, and they explained to me, okay, we have to still wait a little bit longer for a room to be available. And we're going to tell your fiance once he's able to go to the room and all of that. And then, so yeah, time passed. They finally sent me to my postpartum room, I remember, and I was there. And then they called my fiance. He was able to go into the room with me, so we were back together into the room. And yeah, I started, mom life. I started, she did latch on, and I'll probably do a separate video as far as, like, after recovery and all that, because I did get a C-section. So if you guys are interested in another video as far as recovery, then I'll be more than happy to do that for you guys. But yeah, it was such a crazy experience. Never did I think that was going to happen. But again, like I said, everything, God has his own plans, and I did what I thought was best. And I have my baby girl here now. She is now 4 months. By the time this video goes up, she's now going to be 5 months. And yeah, she's a big baby. She's already, again, by the time this video goes up, she's 5 months. But she's already fitting into like 6-9 months, which is crazy to me. But yeah, Miss Olivia Leia Trujillo. That's it. So yeah, that is pretty much it for my labor and delivery story. I really hope, any moms out there, or soon to be moms, this kind of not helps you, because I don't think in any way it's helping anybody, but just hearing another person's experience, just because I know sometimes on YouTube they post like only the positives or only the negatives, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted you guys to know my experience. And if you guys have been wondering, what the heck, where is she, or what has she been doing, that is obviously that's not what I've been doing, but I just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know what happened and how my baby girl was brought into this world. So I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if you guys are not, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Again, if you guys are interested in a like recovery video, then I will be more than happy to do that for you guys. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and leave me your comments or anything you have to say, or if you guys want to see that video, go ahead and leave it down below. And that is all I have to say, and I'll see you guys on the next one.